Welcome to episode 8 of The Relay. My name is Tanvir, and I'm here back with Daniel again as we're going to break down more about the FIFA World Cup. We're also going to go over our MLB All-Star game ballots as voting just closed a couple days ago, and then we're going to finish it off by continuing our Superlatives series and talk about the NFL wide receivers. Before we get to the video, if you guys would please like and subscribe on this specific video and follow us on @TheRelayMedia on Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitter, which is X, and then what was the other one? Threads. Threads is the other one, along with YouTube. And yeah, other than that, sit back, relax, and let's run the relay. Man, I don't even know where to start because I genuinely think this has been the best knockout stage opening that we've seen at a World Cup in a long time. It feels like every single day we've had another classic, last minute winners, penalty shootouts, controversial VAR decisions, some heavyweights even got bounced out. It's had a little bit of everything, and what's crazy is I don't think the favorites have looked nearly as comfortable as people expected. Teams like Paraguay, Morocco, even Canada to an extent have completely changed the complexion of the tournament. And so while powers like Germany, Netherlands, and Japan are already headed home, it's going to be interesting to see where this tournament goes in the future. So right now we're going to break down some of the biggest events that happened over the last couple of weeks in the FIFA World Cup around the round of 32 and figure out who's actually looking like a legitimate World Cup contender heading into the round of 16. So our last episode was on Tuesday before the Tuesday games. Let's just talk quickly about Norway and France advancing with their impressive victories. France getting a 3-0 win over Sweden, and Norway getting a really good 2-1 win over Ivory Coast. Daniel, which one of the two victories to you was more impressive, Norway or France?
To me, I think it was Norway. I think Norway just, I'm not going to say a worse team. I mean, I guess on paper they're a bit worse, but, they still have that structure. They're still pretty good, but I think they grinded out for their win a lot more because, it took over the span of basically 90 minutes to get that win for them. And so I think just what I saw from Norway on Tuesday, it was a pretty great product. That team still has that chemistry going. They're still very fluid. And Holland's always going to show up when you need him most. So I think Norway was more impressive.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm going to go with a different perspective. I'm going to say France, just because, I knew France was a really good team, but the fact that they've just been absolutely steamrolling teams and their offense is as good as advertised, I'm just so impressed with how much talent they have on that offense. To have a front four of Mbappe, Olise, Dembele, and Barcola in that front four, it's just unfair, and it's gonna be really hard for any team to stop that France national team from winning this World Cup. But yeah, Norway, I would say, really did have a good performance. Ivory Coast, I feel like that Amad Diallo goal was absolutely insane. Like, probably top 10 goals at this tournament so far. But Norway, I still feel has a cap on how high they can go. I just feel like France just kind of solidified themselves as World Cup favorites for me personally. So the other game that day, which was actually delayed by lightning, which I don't know how much that helped with your nerves about that game. But Mexico defeated Ecuador 2-0. I'll let you have the floor and talk about this game first. What'd you like about this game? Were you surprised by how the game turned out? What were your overall thoughts? Let's just start with that about the Mexico win over Ecuador.
Well, obviously, overall, very happy that Mexico wins that game. As a fan, of course, that's going to be the thing. But, my nerves were uncontrollable that game. I was already nervous going into it. I think I said even on the show Tuesday, I was just scared because I didn't know what Ecuador was going to provide for this Mexico team, considering, this was the most scary defense probably the entire tournament. So we thought, at least. And just when the game got delayed, I was kind of just like, okay, I was at work. So I'm like, maybe it gets delayed one more hour and I can get home in time, watch the game at home. Wasn't the case. Game starts at 7, but I was able to watch most of it anyways. And The way Mexico came out in that first half was something that I personally have never seen from this Mexico team in I don't know how long. I don't think I've ever seen it, to be honest. I think it's always been, the Arsenal style of play of just, we're gonna
Mhm.
drop back, defend, we'll take our chances when we get them. But this was a team, this was a completely different team not Saturday, Tuesday. I'm getting ahead of
Mhm.
myself. But it was a very, very different team. They were attacking, they were taking advantage of this high press that Ecuador was providing. And we saw that with the first goal with Quinones, who barely onside in his own half, makes that run. Takes I think was it Caicedo takes him down to
Yeah,
the
I don't even remember at this point. That
I
game's so far gone. I've been watching way too many World Cup games, but it was
yeah.
somebody.
Yeah, it was somebody. He took him all the way down, was beating him with his own legs, makes that cut to make that goal. The way the stadium erupted, I felt
Oh, it
it.
was
And I
crazy.
wasn't even there.
The
Like the
camera
fact that,
shaking and everything.
like I think that was probably the best atmosphere wise for a goal that it could have been. But overall, I was pretty happy with this Mexico performance. Yeah, I can nitpick here and there. There were some things in the defense that are still questionable, mainly the fullbacks, obviously, with Jorge Sanchez and Jesus Gallardo. You're always gonna have a problem with that.
You're not
But
answering that question this World
yeah,
Cup.
that won't be an answer. But I think
Hmm.
overall this defense still plays very solid. They were able to stop the minimal chances Ecuador had, and basically, they held them down. They locked them down pretty good, and I think there's nothing more to be said about this team other than they need to continue what they did on Tuesday for this upcoming Sunday.
Yeah, I think that Mexico were more inclined to play a little bit more offensive because of just the lack of offense that Ecuador had. Like, I don't think you look at that, and we said this in our preview of this game. There's nobody on the Ecuador offense right now that would have scared me if I was a center back or fullback for this team, right? Like, we can say that the fullbacks are a weakness, but Gonzalo Plata is not going to like give you anything. And then I forgot who the guy on the left wing was, but again, not going to give you anything in terms of offense. It was going to have to be through the middle of Ener Valencia. And the reason why I thought that Ecuador played a little bit better against Germany was because one, they were like desperate, because if they didn't win that game, I think the entire country would have revolted against them. And then two, I also think that Germany's defense was more susceptible to Ecuador, driving down the middle of the park and trying to hit shots. I mean, the one goal was off a set piece, which is, I mean, that's just even, right? The other goal was a drive down the middle of the field and a hit outside the box. So I think that Mexico was never going to allow that. A guy I really liked in this game was Eric Lira. Eric Lira, I thought, played exceptional. Just was an absolute destroyer in the middle of the park on Tuesday. And I think he's a little bit of an unsung hero. Obviously, we're going to talk about Julian Quinones and Raul Jimenez because they're the goal scorers. Even guys like Cesar Montes in the defense, because they didn't allow anything. But I think Eric Lira played exceptional in that game, and I think he's a little bit of an unsung hero for that Mexican victory. Obviously, moving forward, it's going to be interesting, but I want to talk a little bit about Ecuador side of things. I think, to me personally, I think this still makes Ecuador's World Cup a disappointment. I think it's a failure of a World Cup for them. I think we talk so much, and the general zeitgeist in South American culture or football is this is a golden generation for this team, but I am very disappointed in Ecuador. I know I put Ecuador as third place in my predictions, but the fact that they could not even muster up around a 32 win with their best ever team was pretty disappointing against a Mexican team that I think is very difficult, and it's in the Azteca. That's going to be difficult regardless. But it's not like you're playing an England, or England's probably a bad team for this right now, but like France, right, or a team like Argentina. Those type of teams, I think you can give a little bit of leeway, but because their group stage was so bad, I can't really put it in any other terms besides this was a total disappointment. They won against the team I thought they were going to lose to. They drew against the team I thought they were going to win against. And they lost against the team I thought they were going to draw against. And it's, I don't know. It's just so wild to me how this Ecuadorian World Cup panned out. But, I think Mexico was the better team on the day. I thought they played so much better. I thought the difference makers for Mexico's offense was going to make the difference in this game. People were saying, both teams have really good defenses, but I was just saying I just trust Mexico's offense more than Ecuador's offense. And Raul Jimenez and Julian Quinones, the two best offensive players on this team, they showed out. So shout out to them. Ecuador bows out, and Mexico will play England, which will be a very, very interesting matchup. All right, let's move on to the next couple of round of 32 games. The United States defeated Bosnia and Herzegovina by the same scoreline as Mexico did, 2-0. They reached the round of 16. They win their first knockout stage game since 2002, snapped a 10-game World Cup winless streak against European opposition, and it sets a round of 16 matchup against Belgium, which is all too familiar with this United States team, as this is the same team that knocked the USA out of the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. I don't know how much of this game you saw, Daniel, but just tell me how much did you think the USA was in trouble when they went down to 10 men? And also, what were your overall thoughts about the resiliency and how they were able to still, win this game after all that controversy that happened in the 60th minute?
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't too worried when they went down 10 because obviously I saw it was an attacker. It was Balogun that went down.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, well, you're down an attacker. You can just, sub in another defender. You defend.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter. Bosnia takes a bit more of a possessional lead because at least you'll have that defensive structure to at least hold it down. And just in general, I think it was a better defense than for Bosnia to try and score on. So I think it was going to work in their favor either way. But I think with the way that they handle it, it was absolutely perfect because you go down a man and you let Bosnia take a possessional lead for maybe 5 minutes, and then you're still controlling that whole field. I think that was very impressive to me because you don't normally see that. You normally see a lot of the times the team goes down 10 and all of a sudden they're the ones sitting back. Other teams getting those more chances. And I thought for a second, during those 5 minutes, I thought Bosnia might have had a chance to, get an equalizer, take this to extras, but we saw the USA team hunker down and just completely take over this match and even get another one, that was the surprise to me because while the call for that foul to me deemed a little soft, I think it was, the refs paying it back for the bogus red that was called.
Yeah, I just want to break it down in terms of chronologically. So I thought the United States started out like a little shaky, but that's obviously going to happen with nerves, right? And it's your first knockout stage game, first knockout stage game where you're the favorite, especially when you're this generation of United States players. And so, again, another thing that we got right in the preview where I didn't think that the United States was going to score early in this game. And that was something that I wanted to see happen because I wanted to see this team go into the round of 16 game against a pretty good team, whether it was going to be Belgium or Senegal, with a different type of win. I didn't want it to be the same sort of win every single time. And so I liked what happened in that first half. They grew into the game against the stingy Bosnian defense that had 5 in the back. And they had a goal called off for offsides, rightfully so. They had 2 actually in this game, both of them rightfully so. But that's a bummer in itself because Pulisic almost had a goal to extend the lead as well. But regardless of that, Balogun gets his goal, hits the silencer, the LeBron celebration. That was awesome. I mean, what a tournament that he's having. 3 goals. First time a United States attacker has had 3 goals in a World Cup since Landon Donovan in 2010, and he's the 3rd American ever to have 3 or more goals in a World Cup. So Balogun has been the best attacker for this team this entire tournament, and it is sad he's not going to be able to play against Belgium because I truly think that the scale shifts to more of a 50-50 game for this next game between USA and Belgium, where if Balogun was starting, I truly think I would have said the United States was an outright favorite. But this is still 50-50 to me. But still coming back to this game, insane performances from the midfield once again. Weston McKennie is proving once and for all why he's one of the greatest midfielders in American soccer history. I'm ready to say it right now. Malik Tillman, he was so good in creating creative opportunities in the attacking third. This is a guy that, you know, was left off of the 2022 World Cup roster by Greg Berhalter, and after he made that switch from Germany to the United States, I was questioning how much of a loyalty he had to the team. But he's shown, especially the last Gold Cup, where he came out to play and played really good. And now he's just playing with better players. And so you still see that high-level creative mentality from Malik Tillman that I thought I wasn't really going to see. I was still on the train that I thought Gio Reyna should start over him, but he has proven me wrong completely. So shout out Malik Tillman. And what a free kick goal. I mean, sure, we can say the wall and the goalkeeper were not in great positions, but you still had to put up and over that wall with how close to the box you were. And so that was one of the greatest goals I've seen for the United States in a World Cup because of the consequences of that game. And when we went down to 10 men, there was still a thing in the back of my mind that reminded me of that Panama game in the Copa America where Tim Weah gets a stupid red card against the Panama players. We went up 1-0 in that game through Flo Balogun as well, and the Greg Berhalter tactic to just turtle shell in and just not provide any sort of attack really cost us, and that's why we got grouped at the Copa America. So I mean, the growth that I've seen in mentality from this team is huge. Same for Mexico. I think both of these teams, Mexico got grouped at the 2024 Copa America as well, I'm pretty sure, right? And so yeah, you get both of these teams, the growth that I've seen in the mentality, in the attacking prowess is very good. And I think that there's a certain thing now that I've seen with the United States where, and I think there's a certain thing about other national teams as well. When the World Cup comes around, these guys at least meet expectations. I don't think I've seen, like, obviously the 2018 cycle where they didn't qualify was one of the biggest shams in U.S. soccer history. But I also think that when we talk about the modern generation, this team has gotten to the round of 16 in 4 of the last 5 World Cups. And I think for everybody that goes into future World Cups talking about this team's going to get grouped, this team's going to do that, I think it just gets put to bed a little bit. And hopefully now, with this game against Belgium, they get a little bit of revenge off of that 2014 game. So that was pretty... And then the red card, I'll talk about it real quick. The red card was horrible. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. There was 6 to 8 fouls in this tournament where you had the exact same thing happen, sometimes even worse, where they're raking down the leg and it's hit the Achilles. And I think, to me, it's a yellow card. When you look at it with still images and slow motion replays, obviously you're going to come to the red card conclusion, but that just sucks for the next game. I didn't think it was necessarily going to affect us in that specific game, especially when we got to the hydration break, but it sucks for what's going to be the future of this United States men's national team. Then that same day, England and Belgium escaped matches against African opposition. England versus DR Congo, Belgium versus Senegal. You want to talk quickly about this Senegal collapse? This absolute choke job? This is one of the craziest choke jobs I've ever seen at a World Cup since I've been watching.
Yeah, I really don't even know how to explain this Senegal choke job, because you were up 86th minute 2-0 and you, in the span of what? I think it was 3 minutes.
It was 3 minutes, yes.
Yeah, and they were tied 2-2. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm over here because I'm with our friends at ESPN Fresno. I'm helping run their show.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking up and I'm like, oh, okay, Belgium got one back. Maybe there's something. Next thing you know, like, camera switches and they're scoring another one. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. But yeah, I think the Senegal team, I think they're deep. the changes they made, the substitutions were just they weren't great, and
they were horrible.
These were substitutions that you make in like when you were up 4-0 and you got nothing left to play for. But the fact that they made these subs with 2-0 with enough time on the clock, because we all know that stoppage time is at least 5 minutes in this World Cup. So the fact that you would do something like that against a Belgium team who, isn't good, but they've still got a decent attack. You know, Lukaku being the super sub he is it's paying off for Belgium so far, and I'm liking it a lot.
Yeah, to take off Pop Gay and Iliman Ndiaye from that team at the time that he did, I know hindsight's 2020. If they close that game out and nothing happens, you know, nobody gives a crap about the substitutions. But like there is a clear delineation between before those two guys went off the field and after they went off the field, and there was a clear change in how this Senegalese team played after that. And so again, it's worse than the Japan collapse in 2018 for me. It's worse than any collapse that happened in 2014. I don't even remember what the worst collapse in 2022 would have been, but because nothing comes to mind in that tournament, but this is just horrible. And again, another team where I think this is a failure of a tournament. This is a Senegalese team that I had as a top 12 team coming into this tournament. And I thought with how the bracket would have looked, I thought round of 16 was fine for this team, right? Because they would have played Brazil if they beat Ivory Coast in the round of 32. Granted, if they got second place. But they lose to Norway, and that just hurts your prospects of going into the next round. Now, I will say, getting third probably actually gave them an easier route, because they would have, instead of playing Ivory Coast and Brazil, you play Belgium and the United States, which I think is pretty even. If not, it's an easier matchup if you get past Belgium in that round of 32 game. I still think that they would have lost that round of 16 game, but that's still an easier matchup. You could have got to a quarterfinal, and you got given this opportunity and you blew it. And so, shout out to Belgium, I guess. I'm not really going to give too much credit to them because I thought that it was more of a Senegalese collapse than a Belgian comeback. But, I mean, they got things done, and they move on to continue to play. And they'll play the United States. England, we'll just hit this quickly. I just thought that they look flat once again, but that's how they look under Thomas Tuchel. I think it's similar to like Portugal, where like the team is just playing. They're just getting ugly wins, and you kind of just have to deal with it until you don't. So, yeah. Spain defeated Austria. Switzerland defeated Algeria. Those two were kind of comfortable games that we don't really got to talk about, unless you got something to say about those two games.
Just Spain was an insanely boring game.
Oh, yes.
It was probably the most boring, dominant game I have ever seen.
And how Lamine Yamal won man of the match is beyond me. But
hey, leave my
he's your goat. He's your goat. So I won't bag too hard on him. Portugal defeated Croatia 2-1. What did you think about the VAR decision at the end of the game?
That VAR decision was definitely, to me, I think that's a robbery. Like, as much as
really?
like Ronaldo, the ball clearly rebounds off the defender's back.
Yeah, but that's not intentional, though.
I don't.
You think he intentionally was like, yo, let me head this back towards Josko Guardiola.
But like it's still a rebound. That's the thing. That's what I always thought.
Yeah, but that doesn't count for like offsides. I think the biggest thing was, I thought you were gonna say it didn't touch. I forgot who the original player was that headed the ball through. That I think you can argue for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that Renato Vega like head back. I don't think that that's anything for that. But continue.
It's just because to me, I always thought the rule was, as long as it rebounds off of a defender, it's a fair ball to play. So
maybe it is. But maybe these rules are not as cut and dry as we thought they were, right?
Yeah,
and that just makes the game a little bit more, a little bit more weird, I would say.
Yeah, definitely weird. But in my stance, if my stance were to stand, I think it was a robbery, because if that were, I'd have to look more into the rule, obviously, but if that's the rule, then that should have been given a goal because he would no longer be offsides because of that.
Yeah, I think that there's enough evidence for me personally to say that that wasn't a robbery. First of all, there are chips in the balls now, and so they can track when there is contact made on the ball. And during that header from that Croatian player, uh, there was contact on the ball. It doesn't look like it for sure, but there is a little bit of contact on the ball from that player. And then it hits Renato Vega's head, which it unintentionally goes backwards, and it goes to a Croatian player in an offside position who went to slot it to Josko Gvardiol, and he tried to put it in. I know it sucks for Croatian fans. It's one of the more heartbreaking losses I think I've ever seen at a World Cup. You know, this is similar to like the Iran game where like Iran had that goal and it got chopped off for offsides in a very dramatic way. But it's the letter of the law. It goes how it goes. I still think that it's a crime how they defended Gonzalo Ramos on the game-winning header. So you can't blame everything on the VAR. But yeah, it sucks. But to me, it's the right call. But Croatian fans, and maybe even you, will argue to the end of time that it wasn't. And I'm not going to argue against that because, you know, if my team were ever to lose like that, I would be pretty pissed as well. So yeah, Portugal finds a way. I still don't think they look impressive at this World Cup. I don't know what it is. This is a team that I had as a top 6 team at this World Cup, and they just the big name players in that midfield just haven't played as attack minded as I thought they would. And also, like, I don't think Bruno's impact has been felt in this tournament. Like, Bruno, clearly, you know, Premier League player of the season sort of aspirations coming into next season. And so, and obviously last year, but it just, I don't know. This team isn't clicking as well as I thought they would be. And now they're going to play a tough Spanish team that is starting to rise at the right time. So that's a tough matchup for them. Round of 32 games today. Let's just quickly predict these. Let's go with the Argentina game because I think that's a little bit more, you know, straightforward. Instead of picking who's going to win, because I think we're both going to pick Argentina, what do you think the scoreline is going to be? And do you think Cape Verde scores a goal?
I don't think Cape Verde scores a goal.
Dang.
But I think this is going to just... I think this will be a 1-0 win just because of the
really?
way that...
Okay.
I think the way I saw Cabo Verde play against Spain, I think we're going to see that very similar today. And I think it's just going to be, you know, Argentina's going to have to wear this team down to the point where, you know, they'll get a goal, but it'll probably only be one just because of how this defense is going to stand up against them.
Yeah, again, the Argentinians don't necessarily blow teams out, and so that's one of the reasons why I think this will be a little bit lower scoring. I'm going to ultimately go with a 2-0 victory for the Argentinians. I don't think Cape Verde scores. I think they just don't have the fire, especially against this Argentinian defense, which I think is one of the best defenses in the world, with Alessandro Martinez and Cuti Romero back there. And so it sucks. The dream has to end today, but we love Cape Verde for what they did at this World Cup. And I think when we look back at this World Cup, that's going to be a team that we really remember from the like Costa Rica 2014 or Russia 2018. Like this team in 2026, I should say, was definitely the team that caught people's attentions. Colombia versus Ghana. This is the night game. I got Colombia winning this one. I think Ghana, you know, Carlos Queiroz ball is the most haram ball that you can get. They just defend. I think they could frustrate the Colombians that I don't think are clinical as we would like them to be sometimes. And this game could go to extra time. And I'm actually going to predict that. I think this game does go to extra time, but I think Colombia wins 2-0 with 2 goals in extra time. I think they just tire the Ghanaian defense out. But I think this is going to be a tough Ghanaian defense to play against. And so, I got Colombia winning in extra time.
You know, I like the extra time pick, but I was going to take a 3-1 Colombia win. I think this Colombia team gets off to a slow start, but I think as they get into it, I think this Ghanaian, how does it say, like, Ghanaian, right?
Yeah, Ghanaian.
Yeah, Ghanaian. I think this defense will just I think they'll slowly get worn down over time because I think this offense has some high work rate basically and high productivity, and I think they're just gonna get worn down. And I think that's once we start seeing that, I think we'll see the goals coming. But I don't see extra time in this game.
Okay, and I think the most interesting game of the day, which is literally the game that's starting in 30 minutes, it's Australia versus Egypt. I would like to say, first and foremost, I hate FIFA for what they did because my jersey is not situated correctly. So I went to the Australia-Paraguay game, and I really like this Australian kit, and I was like, I'm gonna buy it, not looking at the format of the jersey, because who's actually looking at that stuff, right? Also, there was like 5 of these jerseys left, and I found a medium, so I was like, I'm gonna get that, bro. Why is the Australian logo so far into the middle, man? Dude, I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this. Like, obviously, it's hard to like kind of like put this there. That's a little bit better. My neck is literally under the Australian jersey, or over the Australian like logo, and the Nike logo is all the way towards the seam over here. And I'm like, I'm wearing it, and I'm looking online. Yeah, like you can see it a little bit better right there. Like these should be shifted over like to this side a little bit, but whatever, right? It's all right. I think Australia gets it done today. I think the Aussies have a really good defense that can frustrate teams. I think Egypt, we saw in that Iran game that they have a little bit of like some cracks in that defense, and I think that if Australia gets a good lineup out there with Nestor Irankunda starting, hopefully Tony Popovich, then I think that they have an opportunity to win this game. They're going to need a lot more out of Touré at the striker position. That is a big need in this team. Like ever since that Turkey game, and he didn't even like score a goal in that one. It was Irankunda and Connor Metcalf, the center mid. Ever since that game, they haven't scored a goal. Right? They had a 2-0 loss to the United States, and they had a 0-0 draw against Paraguay. And I was at that game, and they did not look nearly as dangerous as I thought they could be. And so they're going to need a lot more out of that offense. I think they get it today, and I think they frustrate the Egyptians and get a win in penalties. I think it'll be 1-1 going into penalties, though.
I can see a world where that happens. I don't know. I think both these teams are very similar, I guess, like on skill levels in a sense.
Yeah.
Besides Mo Salah, but I think
you don't think that Matthew Leckie is on Mo Salah's level?
You pair it up with the second best Premier League winger of all time. Okay.
Each.
But I think my heart's telling me Egypt here. Okay. I think I just like. Yeah, we've seen the cracks, but I think this Egypt team can still game plan against this Australia defense. I feel like this Australian team is very defensive minded. Obviously, we haven't seen them score in the last 2 games, and so I think with the attack of Marmoush and Salah up there, I think they get it done today. I think it's a 2-0 win.
Dude, Marmoush needs to do something at this tournament. Like, he's been super disappointing for me over these first 3 games. For an attacker of his caliber that plays at Man City, like, he needs to do a lot more. And I think if he does, like, show out today, then I think Egypt will win. But there's nothing that has happened over the last 3 games. Like, he'll make dangerous attacking runs, but his final product is just not good enough. Like, the crosses and the shots have just not been there. So, yeah. I think that Australia is probably the inferior team slightly, but I'm still going to pick them to win. And then, yeah, we'll just quickly go over the round of 16 matchups as we stand. Paraguay versus France. I think this is a pretty easy matchup for the French. Canada, Morocco, that'll be super interesting. Mexico versus England. I think this might be my... Like, obviously, I'm a U.S. fan. This might be my favorite matchup of the entire round of 16. Norway versus Brazil. Amazing. USA versus Belgium. We need that ass. We need to get that revenge, bro. Portugal versus Spain. Another crazy Iberian Peninsula matchup. Both of these teams are going to be hosting the World Cup in 2030. And so I think there's a little bit of interesting storylines that can go with that. Switzerland's going to play the winner of Colombia versus Ghana, and then Argentina versus Cape Verde winner is going to play Australia versus Egypt winner. Is there a game, like, real quick to end this segment, a matchup that you're really looking forward to out of those 8?
I think we already know what mine is. It's going to be Mexico, England.
Okay, well, I was saying beyond that.
Beyond
Obviously,
that,
we know the Mexico-England game.
I think Canada-Morocco excites me.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I like the matchup on paper. I think Canada has a world where they can get this done, especially I feel like they're figuring things out right now, and it's finally starting to click. And I think this attack with, Davies finally being in the lineup now, I think there's a chance.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll see where this round of 16 pans out in terms of the last 3 teams, as we got 3 matchups today, and hopefully this jersey gives the Aussies some good luck today. Every single World Cup, I think there's a point where your opinions have to change. Whatever you believed before the tournament doesn't really matter anymore, because now we got actual evidence. We've seen these teams under pressure. We've seen them in hostile environments. And we've seen who's capable of surviving when one bad night sends you home. So today, me and Daniel are going to update our top 12 power rankings for the FIFA World Cup. Some teams have skyrocketed, some teams have fallen out of the top 12, but we're obviously going to make this ranking. I wanted to quickly go over my rankings before this World Cup started, and a lot of them are kind of in the same positions, but I've gone with the 12 best teams that are still alive. So I didn't go with the Netherlands, who would be in this top 12 if they didn't get eliminated. And I also got rid of a team like Germany, who I guess possibly could have been. Maybe even if they survived, I probably would have kicked them out because their performance against Paraguay. But some notable teams that have dropped low. Germany, Netherlands obviously lose their round of 32 games. They're out. Senegal and Japan were both in my top 12 at 11 and 12. They're out of there. But the top 3 are still the same for me. And we'll go over that real quick. All right, so let's just go in descending order. We'll go from 12 to 1, and we'll just go, quick fire as we usually do. So number 12 for me, I'm already cheating, but I'm gonna go with the tie between Belgium and Canada. This Belgium team is so mid right now, and they might have been given a lifeline with Flo Balogun getting a red card. I cannot believe that this team has a possible chance to get to the quarterfinals of this World Cup, even though they've been playing like absolute trash this entire tournament. But I digress. And then Canada, I think, they've played well. The opponents that they played haven't been the highest quality. South Africa, Bosnia, and Qatar are 3 of the teams that they beat, or actually they didn't even beat Bosnia. They drew Bosnia. But then they lost to Switzerland, which I guess it is a tough opponent, but it was a close game, 2-1. I have a toss-up between those 2 teams, but maybe you can help me pick with whoever your number 12 is.
So I was going to take Egypt as my number 12.
Ooh, okay. I like Egypt at 12.
Yeah, I think just the way, like I was saying earlier, I think Egypt's attack, on its day can be great. I think we haven't seen the best of this Egypt attack yet, but I feel like...
Yeah.
Given their opponents today, I think they can get it done. I think we can see what this true attack for Egypt can do. So I'm gonna give it a 12.
I'm not against the Aussies, as if I'm Aussie. I got this jersey and now I have all their superpowers. Right? Portugal is my number 11. They've dropped a lot. They were number 5 in my original ranking. I stated this in the previous segment. Their midfield has just not come out to play at all this tournament, and they're looking really suspect. Now, I will say the Spanish team that they're facing against, sure, they've had their own, their own struggles, I should say. And, I think that they could catch them out. I think Portugal do present a bad tactical match. Not bad, but like a little bit of a tactical difference between them and Spain in terms of that midfield. And I think they could dominate, but I don't see anything in these last couple of games that has given me enough, leeway to give them higher rankings. So give me Portugal at number 11.
I'm very surprised you put them that low.
Yeah, but I had to.
With my 11, I was going to take Canada. I think Canada is very similar to Egypt.
Okay.
Now, team hasn't gotten to the best of starts in a sense. Not having seen this full team, seeing their full capabilities. but I think they're getting to that sweet spot right now where they're getting to the likes of Alphonso Davies finally returning, giving them minutes. And we've seen how good that team is once he's on the field, actually, doing things for this team. And I think once again we see him a lot more this round against Morocco. So I think 11's a good spot for Canada.
Yeah, Canada's again. I just think the competition hasn't been as high, but yeah, they deserve to be in the top 12 for sure. Number 10 for me, Norway. Norway has climbed the rankings for me. I think Norway to me was sitting at maybe 18. I wasn't really sure about their big tournament, how much they have played in tournaments before because they haven't qualified for Euros. They didn't qualify for a World Cup in years. And so I think that Norway is clicking at the right time. I think their attack is amazing. I still think their defense is a little bit suspect. Their midfield is growing as the tournament goes on, but I think that defense can really get caught out. But their offense is clicking all cylinders. And Erling Haaland, I mean, what a first World Cup for him. Obviously, I think that he'll be at future World Cups. But, I mean, what a coming out party for Erling Haaland in this first World Cup. That's why I got Norway at number 10.
Yeah, I think I'm putting Norway at 10 too. I think I think 10 is a good spot for Norway given, the competition that is left. Mm-hmm. And just like you said, the attack is rolling, defense is shaky at best. But I think these are things that get figured out the more you go on. I think as they go through this Brazil game, should they win, I think it'll be a product of that defense actually like showing up and being locked in, considering the opponent. So yeah, Norway at 10.
Okay. I think this is the spot where the two hosts, besides Canada, have to be at. I don't know if you have USA and Mexico at 8 or at 8 and 9. You have them a little higher. You have them a little higher.
There's just one.
No?
There's a
team you have below
US
them. Okay.
here. Yeah.
Okay. I have Mexico here. And obviously we're going to be biased because I'm a USA fan, you're a Mexico fan. We both think our teams are better than the other. But I have USA at 8 and I have Mexico at 9. I think both of these teams, because of the host boost, can actually like go out there and make a quarterfinal, make a semifinal if they really out stress their expectations. But I think the reason why I have the United States a little bit above Mexico is I think that in terms of domination in their wins, I think the United States have beat better opponents with more dominating victories. And sure, the Mexicans not allowing a single goal is super impressive. I think that they have been playing out of their mind this tournament, and the stock on their defense has grown higher than even I thought they were. And I had very high praise for this Mexican defense coming into this tournament. But I think the United States, with how they're set up, Pochettino has them playing like at an elite level right now. They've beat a Paraguay team. They beat an Australia team that I think is pretty good. They beat a Bosnian team handily, which I don't think is the best of opponents. I can't really say that Canada, played Bosnia and that's an easy opponent for them, and then the USA played them and I think that's a great team. But no, Bosnia, I think they presented a tactical matchup where they bunkered in and the United States found another way to win. And that's why I had the USA at 8 and Mexico at 9. But Mexico has been super impressive for me recently, and I think that both teams, you can interchange which way you rank them. So yeah, that's my 9 and 8.
Yeah, I mean for 9 I had US. I think you said it best about the United States. The opponent quality hasn't been there, but the quality on the field has definitely been there. Just with the way they perform, they're dealing with their teams or their opponents how they should, and I think that is what comes down to it. Mm-hmm. And so I think USA at 9 is a good pick, but I was gonna keep Switzerland in this and put Switzerland in between them.
I didn't have Switzerland in my top 12, but I think you can make the argument for that for sure. That means you don't have either. Damn, that means you have a big team not in your top 12. Wow. All right.
So, I think Switzerland is just they're a decent side. I think they're very underrated. I think what we've seen so far is
the mini Pekka of World Cup teams. That's what they are.
Like granted, they played Algeria, and Algeria obviously wasn't, the greatest opponent out there, but they still dealt with them pretty well. Had a pretty convincing win, and I like the way that this Switzerland team is shaping up. I think as they come down to it, I'm liking the way it's shaping up so far.
Okay. So you have Mexico, or excuse me, you have USA at 9, you have Switzerland at 8. I have Colombia at number 7. I'm interested to see which one of these top 7 teams you don't have, because I think that all 7 of these teams deserve to be in this top 12. And I have Colombia at number 7. I think that they, again, I wish that they were a little bit more clinical with their chances. They've only scored 4 goals in this tournament. They scored 1 against DR Congo. They scored 3 against Uzbekistan. They didn't score a single goal against Portugal, especially, except I think that offside goal was a little bit harsh, I would say. But that's neither here nor there, as I turn on the Egypt-Australia game, as it's about to start right now. But yeah, I just think Colombia, Luis Diaz is still a dangerous player, and I think that he can beat any defense on his day. So yeah, give me Colombia at number 7.
Yeah, 7, Mexico was going to be my number 7 because I had a team between them. I think first and foremost, this Mexico defense has gotten better throughout this entire tournament. I think they faced a lot of adversity, which has helped them grow a lot as they further their case to get to the ultimate goal. But I think also this relies a lot on what will happen Sunday. But if the attack comes out how they came out on Tuesday, I think that makes them more than worthy of being in this 7th spot, because the versatility of being able to do that one half and then sit back the second half and still be a good team, I think that helps a lot.
I just saw an Egyptian dude with a Tennessee Titans hat. I just think that's one of the most hilarious combinations that I've ever seen in my life, but whatever. I want to just speed through these top 6 real quick because we got a couple of other segments to get to. So I'm just going to go 4 through 6 here. 4, I have Brazil, or excuse me, 6, I have England, 5, I have Spain, and 4, I have Brazil. Spain have dropped for me a little bit because I just think it's a boring sort of team that has kind of won all their games. I still am a little bit shell-shocked maybe by the Cape Verde result, which was 0-0, but I still think Spain has the opportunity to win this tournament. I'm not saying that they're a terrible team, but when I look at these top 4 teams, I think that Spain is slightly below them. So I have England at 6. I just have not been impressed at all, but you can't talk about England and not be like they're still one of the favorites with Harry Kane playing out of his mind as he is. And then Jude Bellingham as well. I genuinely think this has been a two-man team this entire tournament. It's been Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham. Everybody else has played so mid. I think Elliot Anderson has actually played pretty decent, so I'll probably include him in that list, but everybody else has been so mid. And then Brazil I have at number 4. I think they're starting to turn the wheels a little bit. And this game against Norway is going to be huge because I still think this is a game that they can lose, and this all comes crashing down. But I think they're starting to pick momentum up, and they could see that semifinal once again because they've been out in the quarterfinal stage in the last 2 tournaments.
Yeah, I like it. With the 3 I'm about to put, you're gonna realize which team I left out.
Yeah.
But at 6 I have Colombia, 5 I have Brazil, and 4 I have Morocco.
Okay, so you don't have England.
England out. Yeah, okay. I left England out.
I don't blame you. Like England has been so I think mid is like a lazy word for it, but they have been so middle of the road for me personally. And I think that that's not going to suit them well. And I think they have a real danger of getting out against Mexico in this game.
Yeah, with England, like you said, they're a 2-player team right now, and that is not how you want to be going deeper into the knockout stage. It's not going to work out for you like that. And I think you said this on Tuesday. They're not a team that's expected to score a lot. They grind their opponents down, and like that I can understand. But when you really this team has no chemistry and you're making the mistakes that they're doing.
That Jed Spence mistake on that first DR Congo goal was so bad.
that's what's really, just diminished my hope for this team. Granted, they're playing my country, so of course I'm gonna be biased a bit, but
Yeah.
I think there's just if I were an England fan, I would not be happy with what the product I'm seeing. But yeah, so I had Colombia at 6, which
Hmm.
I think speaks for itself. I want to be quick here, and then 5 Brazil, 4 Morocco. I think that all makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like that list for sure. Number 3, I have Morocco. I'm so high on this team. This team is so good. I think they had the most impressive win, I would say, in the round of 32. I mean, to beat Netherlands. Like, Brazil had a pretty impressive win, I would say, but that's also a Japanese team that's not 100%. I thought the Mexico win was pretty good because they beat an Ecuadorian team in the Azteca. Maybe if one of the Australian or Egyptians win, maybe that could be a really impressive win. But you want to talk about impressive wins, to come back after dominating a game like they did against the Dutch and go down 1 goal and then having to come back, score that 90th minute winner. I thought they looked amazing in that game, and their defense was making great along with the Dutch defense, but they were making amazing tackles in that game. And I think they finally found that striker that is going to be a very dangerous player against any defense in Saibari. And so I think that's a dangerous team with some of the other players that they have, like Hakimi and Brahim Diaz. I have Morocco at number 3. I have Argentina at number 2 and France at number 1. I just keep flip-flopping on both of these teams. Before the tournament started, I had Argentina over France. A little bit before that, like in the March windows, I had France above Argentina. So I'm kind of just going back and forth, but I have France above Argentina because I just think that offense, it is unreal what I've seen out of that team. And I was also on ESPN Fresno like on Tuesday, and I was talking about they were talking about like what teams have really captured the world. They thought Norway and Cape Verde have for sure as in terms of like underdogs. And then we came to the realization that France, I think, has started to capture American casual hearts because of how good that offense is. And so that's why I have France at number 1. Argentina, still a very good team, but right now they've only gotten goals out of 2 guys at this point, but it's still the Messi show. And I want to see them get a grinded out victory. And maybe they'd never get that because they just blow the doors off of teams. But I want to see a little bit of a closer victory from them just to see a little bit more. And obviously France hasn't as well, but I just trust France's offense to score at will. So that's why I have France at number 1. Argentina 2, Morocco 3.
Yeah, I really like that. I think our list, when our lists come down to like this point, it's going to be very similar. I think I'll have Spain at 3. Spain and Morocco are very interchangeable. I think, Spain, I think I'm banking on the hot streak that I think they're about to go on. Because I think, they're finally warming up. All those jitters are gone. The team's found a rhythm, and I think they're really starting to get going now. And I like it. Obviously you're going to criticize Yamal's performance yesterday, but I think Yamal plays a key factor in what the rest of these games look like for them. And so putting them at 3, I think, is a fair choice. And then for 2 and 1, I'm gonna have Argentina 2, France 1. I think those are very interchangeable. I think they faced about these. Well, no, I'd say France has faced a little tougher opponents like Senegal.
Yeah,
but
Norway,
overall,
Senegal, right.
I think they've both dealt with their opponents very well. They've definitely scored. They haven't struggled much, and I think that's what's kept their high profile case. And so 2-1 Argentina. France. And side note, I don't think we've ever seen a World Cup where all the stars were showing out.
Yeah, no, that's why I also talked about it on Tuesday's ESPN Fresno show that like this World Cup is so great because we have the perfect balance of like very, very entertaining close games mixed with some upsets that have like just blown our minds. And then mixed with the stars are absolutely showing out when it comes to Mbappe, Haaland, Vinny, Harry Kane, Lionel Messi. Ronaldo has 3 goals at this tournament now. And I just think that that's a testament to how good this tournament has been. Hopefully it has a strong finish because I don't want to like bury the lead. But if it has a strong finish, I think you can make the argument that this is one of, if not the best World Cup of all time. So, and hopefully the final reflects that. because I think that's why 2022 got catapulted as high as it did. It was a really good tournament, but that went into a stratosphere of its own because of the final. But yeah, we'll see how these rankings pan out as we head to the round of 16 into the later stages of this tournament. I feel like every single year we have this conversation about the All-Star game. Some guys are obvious locks, but then always there's a handful of players where everyone starts asking the same question, like, wait, how is that guy starting? Or how did this player not even make the roster? So we're going to go through our specific All-Star ballots as voting just ended yesterday. And yeah, we're going to go through each position and see who we picked. Again, we'll go through all the AL ballot and the NL ballot. Obviously, the two players that automatically were in before that, Ernie Clement of the Toronto Blue Jays at second base. He was the auto pick in the AL as he had the most votes in the first round of voting. And then obviously Shohei Ohtani in the designated hitter position for the NL ballot got the auto pick there. But yeah, let's go through the AL ballot real quick. I'm not going to go through pitchers. I think that pitchers have been kind of like decided at this point. But if you have pitchers on your ballot, you can just let me know real quick because I think that's kind of pretty straightforward.
I don't know.
Okay, so, well, yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward there. First base, I think we have the same pick, which is quite interesting. You want to go first?
Oh, wait, doing AL or NL?
AL. AL first baseman. Okay, if you want me to go first, I'm going Ben Rice over Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Those are the two guys that could be selected here. I think he statistically clears Vladdy this season. The batting average is 269 to 267, so it's not that big of a difference, but 23 home runs to 4, 54 RBIs to 34, and a 922 OPS over a 698. I think Ben Rice definitely deserves it over Vlad Guerrero this year. So I'm going Ben Rice at first.
Yeah, I chose Ben Rice as well. I think it was a bit crazy that, Vladdy was getting picked a lot more than him, but it's obviously a fan vote.
He still might get picked over him.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It's a fan vote, so it's like, I get it, Vladdy has more, he has that traction more, so obviously a lot more people want to pick him, but I think Ben Rice has just had a great season so far.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know the stats exactly, but I know it's been a little better. I know they're pretty even.
Out for you. I think this is a classic example. Like, we see this in the Pro Bowl all the time where there's a better season from a player, but the better overall player in terms of rankings gets picked above them because they are just, they just have that backing behind them. So I would not be surprised if Vladdy gets in, but yeah, I got Ben Rice at first. Second base for the AL, Ernie Clement. Were you shocked that he got the most votes in the AL or no?
Not really. I mean, a little bit. But, I know he's been on a tear this season.
Yeah.
But it was, I guess, just since he plays for Toronto,
Yeah, the Toronto fans came out in droves to come and get this guy into the All-Star game, and deservedly so. And that's why I also think that Vladdy will get picked over Ben Rice because the Toronto fan. But maybe the New York fans are just just as big. We'll see. Shortstop, I have Bobby Witt Jr. I think you also have Bobby Witt Jr. Yeah. That's pretty self-explanatory. Third base, I also think this is pretty straightforward. Junior Caminero of the Seattle Mariners. One of the best players of this year, I think. 293 batting average, 54 runs, 24 home runs, 54 RBIs. Amazing player right now for them. Outfield, I have Aaron Judge. I didn't put on this because he's injured, but I could see why Aaron Judge gets picked on this ballot, and I think he will get the All-Star nod. So I have Mike Trout, Byron Buxton, and Cody Bellinger as my picks.
I like the pick. I had Judge on mine. Call me shameless. I don't care. He'll always be my GOAT. But the other two were Mike Trout and Byron Buxton as well. I think we've had a very similar list up to this point.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think, honestly, I think the All-Stars are very much a given when it comes down to it.
Buxton, I mean, he to me has been the most locked guy. Obviously Trout and Judge have the injury issues that could leave them out of this. And Cody Bellinger is a little bit of a interesting pick because you don't know if he's going to get in or not. I think Cody's been good enough this season, but Byron, 25 home runs, 43 RBIs, 7 stolen bases. I mean, this is a guy that I just think slowly but surely keeps stacking great seasons. And I think he's just one of the more underrated players in the MLB. Catcher, I put Shea Langoliers of the Athletics. I am so happy that he's been playing so good this year. So that's my catcher.
I had the same one as well. He's very, very much a good catcher.
Okay, and then designated hitter. I think this is also pretty self-explanatory. It's Yordan Alvarez of the Houston Astros. Let's just go through the NL ballot. You want to go first for first baseman?
Yeah, first baseman, I think it was a given here. We're going to take Freddie Freeman. I think Freeman's been outright the best first. He's outright been the best first baseman in the NL, and so I think he's deserving.
Can we call him an unk at this point? Like, I just don't understand how he just is so good at his age. But yeah, I mean, shout out Freddie Freeman, man. Yeah, it's like he just plays above what his age is, and it just feels like he's been in the league for so long. What is Eddie Alvarez, Freddie Freeman's age?
He's got to be like in his late 30s.
Why did I say Freddie Alvarez? Oh my goodness, Freddie Freeman. Jeez, he is 36 years old, man. Wow. Shout out Freddie, man. All right, second base. This could be a little bit different. I put Ozzie Albies of the Atlanta Braves as my second baseman.
I had him too. I had Ozzie Albies.
All right. Shortstop. Who'd you go?
C.J. Abrams.
Oh my goodness, I put C.J. Abrams as well. I did not put Mookie Betts. I mean, he leads all NL shortstops this year in home runs with 18, OPS of 866, 60 RBIs. I mean, what a season for C.J. Abrams. Again, I think this is another situation where like it could be Mookie getting in because he is the more popular player, but I think CJ deserves it for sure. So shout out CJ Abrams. Third base, another one where I think that it's pretty self-explanatory. Max Muncy for me.
Yeah, I have Max Muncy too.
Who'd you put in the outfield? Because for some reason I don't have my outfielders listed, and now I totally forgot who was even listed in the outfield ballot.
So I had Acuna, obviously.
Okay, yeah, that's clear.
I had Pages and Marsh.
Dude, can you believe Juan Soto is like actually getting votes right now?
How?
Dude, I couldn't believe like he's on the short list for like the MLB All-Star ballot. Let me see who was. Okay, so it's Brandon Marsh, Juan Soto, Michael Harris, Andy Pages, Ronald Acuna, and Teoscar Hernandez. Yeah, I'm going Brandon Marsh, I'm going Ronald Acuna, and I'm gonna go with. I think I put Andy Pages, but I think I'm Michael Harris. That's a toss-up between those two, but I'm going Brandon Marsh and Ronald Acuna for sure. I just think Acuna, I mean, regardless of games played or whatever, I just think he's been cooking. Catcher. This is actually an interesting one between the two. Will Smith and Drake Baldwin are the two finalists for that. Who do you have?
I think Drake Baldwin. I think I like Drake Baldwin just a little bit more than Will Smith. And also, I don't know. Obviously, you're the Dodger fan here, so I think I know who you picked. But I know. I put Drake Baldwin as well. I think I'm not biased when it comes to this stuff, man. I am a reporter through and through. So I like Drake Baldwin a little bit more. Obviously, both of them have been a little bit injury-riddled this season, but as Egypt just scored a goal. Yeah,
that was a great
I'm
one.
ahead. I tried not to say
I know you're ahead all the time, but what a goal for them. But Drake Baldwin has been great this year. 44 runs, 14 home runs, 39 RBIs for an Atlanta Braves team that has been playing out of its mind. And I think he's one of the reasons why. And sure, again, injury bug has hit both of these guys, but I think Baldwin has been a little bit better this year. And then obviously the designated hitter, Shohei Ohtani, the GOAT. I think he is.
The GOAT.
I think he's on track to be.
I will admit that. The GOAT.
Okay. I think you can put that case to rest about Aaron Judge versus Shohei Ohtani. I think it's just like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Like both of them are great.
My thing will always be, I think it's stupid to put them up against each other.
Yeah.
Because one's an outfielder, the other's a pitcher. So like, of course, there's that differences. When it comes to hitting, sure, you can put them together
side by side. Yeah. I just think it goes into it though because he's just such a good pitcher combined with that.
Yeah.
I think I think I do agree it is harsh to like compare the two, but it's gonna happen because it's like the AL best player versus the NL best player, and so like you're always gonna get that, especially in this day and age. But yeah, I mean, what another great season of Shohei Ohtani. He's coming along now in the hitting aspect of things. He was struggling real bad at the start of the year, but the pitching. It's like fluctuating. I think it's like balancing out because the pitching was like all the way up here and the hitting was like here, and now it's like kind of like balancing out. And hopefully it just stays, balanced because I think he's still pitching pretty well. So yeah, that's our MLB ballots. Pretty similar. I don't think we had one. Oh well, no, the NL outfield we had a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't think. Oh yeah, and I picked Cody Bellinger instead of Aaron Judge in the outfield for the AL. So. Not shocked at all. I think those guys should be the ones that get in, as we have a pretty good game between Australia and Egypt going on right now that I want to get to. So, that was our last segment of the day. We'll get to the NFL superlatives as we went a little bit over time in this episode. We'll get to them on Tuesday. Other than that, please follow us on @TheRelayMedia on Instagram, X, Threads, TikTok, and on YouTube. Please give us a like and a subscribe, and please share this video with anybody of your friends. It could be a mom, it could be an aunt, it could be a grandpa, anybody. We'd love to get a view from them. Other than that, we'll see you guys on Tuesday, and have a great 4th of July weekend.